Megan, one of the things I want to pick up on with you following our podcast is what we can do for optimal performance on a regular basis. Are there things you live by? Are there pillars that you swear by that always work for everybody?
Look, I really am obviously obsessed with the gut microbiome, and that's because, the science coming out. So it's how can we look after them? And actually, like, I guess, the human cells in our body, we need things like optimal fuel. So looking at our diet, we also need sleep. So our microbiome actually has its own circadian rhythm. So that sleep-wake cycle. So, getting in the sleep is actually really important for them. And they've shown that 2 days of sleep deprivation actually can start to change the gut microbiome and make it more dysbiotic, which means like unbalanced. So sleep is really important. Movement is another important one for our gut microbiome. So not just for building, our human muscle cells, but moving the gut microbiome. So, whatever sort of activity you want to do, again, has shown to increase the diversity of them. And remember, having a more diverse microbiome can make you more resilient and more skills kind of come out of you. And then the other one is about that de-stressing, and, having some time out. No matter, how intense your job is, there needs to be at least, half an hour of your day where you can just sit and let your gut kind of just chill out and kind of recover.
Just want to deep dive a bit more into the sleep piece, because like you say, it's fundamental, isn't it? And we always put it on the back burner. And yet it's one of those things that's, fundamentally important to every single day of our lives. To live better is always because of we've, prioritized sleep. We always feel like that's the case. How can we do that better? How can we learn to sleep better and get better quality sleep?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're speaking to someone who is still breastfeeding a 4-month-old baby, so I know how important firsthand sleep is.
Yep.
But in terms of, I guess, when we look at the scientific research, the strategies for that, we know that not having any blue light, so putting your phone away at least an hour before bed. As soon as you wake up, actually exposing your face to light. And that helps with the melatonin, so the sleep hormone production and things like that. So these are the things that I actually make sure that I do. Those small, steps actually will increase not just, how much time you're in bed, but actually your sleep quality. That I think is quite important.
We've talked a lot about what you eat, and you mentioned the circadian rhythm, and of course that plays a big role in sleep as well. What about when you eat it? The times that you eat, and whether you eat in between those meals as well. I mean, how big a part of that is this?
Yeah, Georgie, really interesting in terms of this whole world of like intermittent fasting and, is snacking bad, is snacking good, all that sort of stuff. And I think if you suffer from digestive issues, particularly if it is constipation, then what we recommend is actually reducing down snacking. So try not to snack, having your 3 main meals a day. And that's because after 90 minutes in the fasted state, what happens is this movement kind of that pushes the food along, called the migrating motor complex, actually kicks in, and that can help get gut moving and help. So if you've got constipation. But actually, if you're suffering more from things like loose stools, which is quite a lot of people, actually having smaller, more frequent meals can really help with that as a symptom. So I guess the recommendations are different for different people based on the gut symptoms. And then obviously people who aren't having digestive issues, we know that, reducing down your eating window can help with weight management. So if weight management is on your mind, then reducing down, so not eating at 10 p.m. at night. And I always say if people are wanting to try this kind of intermittent type of eating, I would say, just start reducing it down by an hour each side. So if you normally have your breakfast at 7 a.m., push that to 8 a.m. If you normally have your dinner at 8 p.m., push that to 7 p.m. and then try that for 2 weeks. And then if you want to reduce it down, then, that can be helpful. But what I would say, if you are reducing down and doing these different types of fasts, is making sure you're still getting enough fiber in your diet. Because a lot of people I see who go on these extended fasts actually aren't getting in enough of that fertilizer for their gut microbes. And although it is animal studies, some of the animal studies have suggested that if you're going on these long fasts regularly, what happens, your microbes become hangry. So just like us, they can become hangry. And what they do is start to eat at the mucus lining of your gut and make you more vulnerable to gut inflammation. So you just need to be careful about some of the consequences of a kind of, these different patterns of eating. But I think generally speaking, we do know eating late at night is probably not great, not only for our gut because we want it to give a bit of a rest, but things like our metabolism.
How much does food affect mood?
Yeah, huge impact on our mood. And I think probably a lot of people can relate to that. If we kind of neglect our nutrition for a while because we are really busy, then, we're more likely to kind of feel a bit down, not feel as energetic and maybe a little bit of brain fog as well. And, I think some of the key mechanisms of that, obviously our brain is a very active organ, so it needs a lot of nutrition for it to be working at its best. So we need to be feeding with all the different micronutrients, as well as the fact that our microbes, so if they are not being fed, and that's actually, one of the things I think about, it's a bit nerdy, but every meal I have, I want to be like, okay, what am I going to feed my human cells? But also, what am I going to feed my microbes? Because they want to eat regularly as well. So, feeding them some of that fiber, some of those super six at each of the meals actually allows them to produce a range of these different beneficial chemicals. And like I said before, some of them are thought to pass that blood-brain barrier, impacting, our brain and our mood. So it is really important to nourish your body if you want to look after your brain.
The problem I have is with resetting. Whenever I've fallen off the wagon in some degree or another, I feel like, that resetting thing is really important to get yourself back on track again. Is that sort of a common complaint that you hear, that people just need to start? They just need to start somewhere and get going again?
Yeah, look, some people, I feel like there's two different types of people, right? Some people just love to do something extreme. They're like, you know what? Yeah. I've been, eating pretty crappy. I just want to clean up my diet and, go crazy on the gut health thing and be really dramatic. And for that, those people, they find it really motivating to completely, write out a meal plan where it includes all the super six and change a whole lot of things in their diet. Whereas the other group of people, that is just so overwhelming. I'm never, ever going to do it. I just need a baby step. And that's, where I think people need to think, okay, well, where do I sit? If I love to be motivated by having this big kind of review of your diet, then absolutely go for that. Literally spend 10 minutes and writing down a bit of a plan about how you're getting your super six in today, and maybe, the whole week. But if actually that sounds awful and you're like, I'm not going to do that, then it's literally just thinking, okay, how can I add one extra plant into my diet today? Because those small little steps, will actually add up. It might take you 6 months to get there, but it will add up to increasing that diversity. And, think about gut health as it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You need to look after them for life, these microbes.
I'm of the extreme group. I'm like, bang, full on. It all starts on Monday.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah, and I think, that's completely fine. But if that's the way you want to go, then it's thinking about how you can maintain that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Because, I think a lot of people are in that camp. They're like, yeah, let's do it. And they feel motivated, but you don't stick with it. So you need to think about, okay, well, what can continually to motivate you? And I feel like a lot of people are starting to understand that actually these microbes can be their secret weapon. And that motivates them to want to eat better, because it's not just, feeding their taste buds or, keeping your muscles strong, but actually you want to really nourish the secret weapon within you. And yeah, that can keep people committed to their plan of eating the super six, because it's not just about a selfish reason. It's kind of like this independent little organ. And, if we're talking about kids here, what I love, talking to kids like it's their little pet. And if they want to be a good pet owner, they need to feed their pet the broccoli. Even if they don't like it, their pet loves it. So it, you know, it depends what age people are at.
Yeah, you haven't met my daughter.
50-year-old men. Yeah.
She'll be like, Megan, I hear what you're saying, but no.
But I don't want those microbes, you know. I don't want the broccoli liking microbes.
Oh, listen, it's been so...
Depends the age.
Yeah, it depends who you're talking to. It depends who's your audience is. I look forward to you weaning your little one, and how you manage to do that best as well. I need to take all the tips and advice I can get from you on things like that. Megan, thanks so much. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks for having me, Georgie.